First two. You
I did for a minute. It was cold. My hands are so cold. It'll go back down. You must be right under the thing. That's why. I can turn it. I only
No.
went up 2 degrees.
I can. We don't learn this at home. I think I get something off. What's on mine? You should have some chill out here.
How'd that work out? Okay, I think that's good. I think. Recording live on YouTube.
That's like. I got 6:50.
I'm good when you are. But he's still in the hospital, but he should be home in a couple of days.
Yeah, I see that. I just looked through the bracket up. Oh, that's right. You're looking for minutes.
And September's in October.
It would have been very helpful.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Regarding tonight's agenda, I would ask the board if they would consider amending the agenda to include the contract for summer recreation. That was my fault. If we could make that a number 29 and move public comment and adjournment down to 30 and 31.
Make a motion for amended agenda as stated by the supervisor. I would also like to add after public comment. Executive session with the legal counsel regarding stipulation that we tabled last month.
Okay. So we'll make that 31 and adjournment 32.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Public comment. Please provide your name, address, limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. If you appreciate if you could speak, if you're going to speak from the back, just speak up so that the recording can pick you up. Gary?
Gary Luke, 21 Summel. Just regarding the agenda tonight. Item 12, it says there's established a percentage for health insurance, employee health insurance. But the percentage isn't stated. And by not stating it, the public can't comment on it because they don't know what it is. And at public comment at the end of the meeting, they can comment on it, but they can't do anything about it or try to elicit my impression on the town board before they vote. So it makes public comment moot on that. The holiday schedule, I see the highway department schedule was changed. And I didn't know if that was discussed with the employees before making the changes. I thought at the last meeting that the supervisor had mentioned that they were going to have a hearing or a public information meeting for the sidewalks in the hamlet, before much proceeded. But I see now they're either going out or going to approve an RFP for it. So it sounds like they're proceeding, going on without the public having any input into these things. And then the last one that I have is on, well, it was 25. I'm not sure what it is now since you amended the agenda. But it's the deal with the county of getting money for senior and youth programs. I'm wondering how much, one, it doesn't state how much money or anything the town is getting or what they're gonna use it for or have used it for. And secondly, it would be nice if the town could provide information on the ARPA funds. One, how much the town is going to get in total. Two, how much have you spent of the money? I know a lot of it, million, went into the splash park or whatever, so I don't know how much you have. I have no idea.
I have to chuckle because you throw a million around. We didn't even get $1 million, so.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
But
exactly.
this is
Then
my
don't say $1 million.
What?
Then don't say $1 million. If you don't know, don't quote a number.
It's our original budget, so I don't know what it was. So, and you can address that if you want to during your comment. And then it would be nice to know how much is the remaining that can be spent by the town. It seems like a big slush fund to me. That's, go. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to communications. Michelle.
Veterans Day went really good, I thought. Everybody enjoyed it, and yes, thanks Kim for giving the quilt and sending Rob. We appreciate that. And taxes are finalized, and I've written a check to the town for the interest and fees that they've received. And getting ready for town and county again.
Back in the saddle, right?
Yep.
Okay. Brent.
Hunting Veterans Day, I'd like to be a part of that. I thought it went well also. I attended the public information meeting for the Harmony Falls Fire Department on Wednesday, November 13th. Also attended meetings for items like the Victor Menden retaining wall with MRV. Thank you, Tom, for covering me on the planning board meeting for October 16th. The November 6th meeting, we had a Mile Square Road subdivision and site plan that was reapproved with the original conditions. If you remember, that site plan expired, so it had to come back before the planning board. There was also a site plan on Stony Ridge Drive, which the planning board needs more info. They are coming back this Wednesday, November 20th. There was also an informal discussion with EcuStrong. This is a farm on New York State 64, just south of the Thruway. They're looking to provide services with the animals to focus on special needs such as veterans. They host and camp, good days, sheriffs, stress relief, that kind of thing. I think it's a good mesh with the community. It would be very similar to Equicenter, but it sounds as though there is quite a there's a need that we can definitely fit into in this community. And
I apologize for that.
no problem. And on December 4th, there is a planning board meeting with the subdivision and a site plan. I was asking for coverage as that also because I will be attending the holidays in the hamlet wearing a red suit that night. The MCBA attended those meetings. They're wrapping up the map use. They're looking at how the businesses are going to use it and who can use it, and they're really gearing up for holidays in the hamlet. Had a discussion with the resident. The resident had some concerns about the recent home builds in the area and protecting the rural character, that we are maintaining that. I've encouraged this resident to write letters to the board, to follow agendas, and to get involved before homes are built. The one that they were definitely had concerns with This was the seventh home of the 7-lot subdivision that was approved 6 years ago. So we really need public comments before this point. We need them during the planning board's phase. And then I reviewed some of the proposed code revisions that we were talking about. The residents seemed happy with those proposed code revisions. Sidewalks, Assembly Drive is done. We had an unexpected hurdle extending to the south on Interstate 51. So we're going to look to include that extension in the 2025 Hamlet Sidewalk project. We got the letter of grant reward that came in from the county. We're still awaiting the IMA for the Mile Square Road. Once we get the IMA, I think we can move forward with talking about an RFP for some kind of design services. And we will have some more discussion about the RFP that's in the agenda later tonight. Continued meetings with the supervisor, code enforcement officer, planning board attorney for future code revisions. And also, one thing that is going through the year end, last year we had a rectification of the 284 agreement with the highway superintendent. Now construction's done. I think we should have that again. I think that was pretty, it closed the loop on the whole thing. And then it helps us to make sure that we are making sure that those tax dollar monies are spent as we expected. That is all that I have.
Thank you. Kim?
I was unable to attend the Veterans Day luncheon because I was working, but I appreciate everyone else that was there to help. I think it's a good thing that we do. I too attended the Village of Minnetonka Falls Fire Department meeting on Wednesday, November 13th. I think this is an important thing that we should be a part of because part of that budget is town of Mendon. We have 2/3 of that fire district in our contract. What I did get out of that is that we have 21 active volunteers. They could really use 40 and their retention rate is 2.3 years. And the current incentives are not bringing in new or keeping new volunteers. It's unlikely that per diem firefighters will be going away anytime soon. So I think this is an ongoing discussion that we need to continue to have. I did attend a zoning board meeting on November 14th, and there were 2 variances. One was for 5 Governor Circle, requesting a 2-foot relief setback for a porch and attached a deck, where code requires 20 feet, and the board approved their variance. The second one is for 49 Old Stable Way. They are looking to build a new single-family dwelling, and their height of the roof is 43 feet 5 inches, where code requires 35 feet. And there's a slope on that lot, so for the house that they're building, the board decided or agreed that it was a good thing to do for the construction without having to redo their blueprints. So they granted that variance as well. The sidewalks in Assembly Drive do look great. I've seen a lot of people walking on them, but I have had some people ask why it doesn't cross 251 and it comes across Assembly. I know tonight when I was coming home, there was a mother and a young girl crossing Assembly, but they weren't going anywhere. So I'm just curious what I could tell people why it shut it out instead of going across 251. And I think that's all I have.
So I think the intention, Kim, and Tom, maybe you can jump in here if you don't mind, was to run it up to 251. The contractor was never going to do that. I think there had to be some.
There was talk about maybe some shared services between the town and the contractor. And it just never got to an agreement on what could be done in that time frame and area. And so what we're gonna do is get an actual permit for the contractor to complete that effort. And right now, those efforts were done under the Monroe County procurement policy. So I've spoken with them already, and they actually indicated they were under their original budget, significant amount, so getting them back next year to do that crosswalk makes sense. It was either end it with no end or just quickly turn it out into the town road and keep it in the town property is what was decided. So that the goal is to make it not,
People, well, because
yeah,
the
people,
neighbors are like, well,
how come we didn't?
yeah,
go all the way
it
there?
extends across 251. Why does it?
Who knows why the DOT piece just juts out into the middle, why they picked that location to begin with anyhow. But yes, the goal is to get it across, walk through there as well, and those two pieces. So it's gonna take a little bit.
You've been talking with the DOT for some time about the crosswalk,
Yes, we have.
so it's not something that can happen in 30 or 45 days.
Great.
Right,
Yes.
what's a typical time frame?
With a couple months, so yeah, they want full plans and traffic and maintenance and protection. We're gonna have to go out there now and survey it, and so really between Villager and Campobello. I give them major kudos and credit because they just took a cartoon sketch and turned it into a nice, very nice looking sidewalk and.
I was amazed because I left on a Thursday and I came home the following week and it was done. Like,
Yes.
it's amazing. And I've seen lots of people walking on it, using it. So it's great.
Brent knows from an engineering standpoint, we would have it all designed and surveyed and leveled and show all the slopes and they would just throw that out and build it however they want. And that's what they did. And they did really good job. But when it comes to the state, we need all those elevations now and we need all the survey stuff. So we're gonna have to spend a little more time getting that. We're gonna tie that in with some of the other projects that we're looking at further down.
Thank you.
So if you asked that question, I had that on, I was pleased because I did have a few people just in the town, near the Hamlet asked me about the same thing, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. With regard to the library, they have a date set for December 23rd for getting their end of year vouchers done. All but one member of the board has completed their required trainings and that person needs only another half hour. There was some discussion about concern regarding the director's percentage of insurance, especially if she were to go to a family plan. And she is probably going to be contacting the supervisor to talk about that. And voice her concerns. Personally, all programs have been very actively attended, kids, teens, and adults. And that's all I need.
So I would just remind the board that the director is not an employee of the town. It's not subject to our personnel policy. That is, if the board of trustees wants to offer something as far as health insurance that would not be applicable to town employees, they can do that, but it's got to come out of their budget. Tom?
Yeah, ECB meeting last Tuesday, property we discussed was the Mitten property. It's actually, it's on 65. And it borders the north boundary of the town. Basically taking a lot, subdividing it into 3 lots. There was an existing house. And they're looking to have 2 other lots, to have 2 residents put in there. Looking to subdivide it right now, but to have 2 residents there, actually family members, so. Let's see. They decided that they needed more information, they wanted to walk the site, and since the calendar presented us with time. Before the next planning board, they are going to be walking the site on November 23rd. And answering some of their questions. Next thing that the board sent something to John about a climate action plan. The county has come up with a countywide climate action plan, is encouraging local municipalities to do the same. They have a blueprint that they're looking at on the ECB, and what they would like to do is put together a committee to basically come up with recommendations. Now, this plan would be aspirational, it's not like binding, but what I would like them to do is maybe next meeting or the meeting after that, come with a plan of exactly what they're gonna do, because, I mean, there was a question of whether or not you put an ad hoc committee for this together, or you just do it within the ECB. And based on what you wrote, you kind of thought you guys can do this.
Yeah, if the ECB wants to do it.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's fine, but if they want to if they want to form a formal committee with people outside the ECB. Then I think they need to bring that suggestion back to the board.
Yeah.
And for the board to, give them some parameters.
Yeah.
And approve the people that are on it.
Yeah.
And, give them some kind of.
I think we have enough
Guidelines.
gung ho-ness in the ECP that they can
They'll be
probably
fine.
handle the chore. I would like them to present to, because obviously, like I said, it's aspirational. You can't mandate, reducing greenhouse gas limits on residents and that kind of stuff, but, maybe they can come in here and explain it to the board much better than I'm doing right now. So anyways, that's it.
So I read through the county's program and, from what I could see, all of it was regarding county vehicles, county buildings, and as well as a few other things, but it was all about county-owned property and equipment and things like that, as far as setting some guidelines. So like you say, it's not like we're gonna be the heavy-handed to the residents and say, hey, you gotta keep your thermostat at 52 degrees or something like that.
Yeah.
But I will say, for instance, like the second floor here, that we have it on a programmer so that it's not heated all day. I mean, it is, they set at 50 degrees or something during the day. But some of that stuff we are already doing in this building, and same thing with some of the other buildings that have programmable thermostats, which I believe they all do.
Right.
Right, thank you, Tom. Let's see. Our sales tax from the county came in, we are $15,000 less than the third quarter of last year, which of course is always concerning. New York, or the training with the Association of Towns in New York City is in February, so I would suggest if anybody is interested in going, let me know, and we will get people registered through the town, and we'll get reservations, etc. Probably some of the expenses, depending on how many people go, would have to be come out of the 25 budget. But if there is anybody who's interested at this point, I think it would be good to get a head count and take it from there. Let's see, we had our employee health insurance meeting, which was attended both by employees and retirees immediately following. Senator Pam Helming had a Hall of Fame for veterans, which one of our residents, Mike O'Connell, was inducted in Canandaigua. I attended that a week or two ago. It was very nice. ADP, I'm just gonna say we're struggling with a few things. We're really not happy with a couple of things with them. And we're trying to work through it, but we're also involving Brian and looking over a contract with him. So that remains to be seen. Let's see, we had a meeting, Brent, Corey, Tom Fromberger, myself out on the Victor Menden Road regarding that one section where that retaining wall is failing and the railing is failing. We think we probably have a pretty good solution to that coming up. Met today with the library director regarding the budget and also one of the employees. It was a good meeting and we had a chance to talk about a few things. They had a couple of questions, which I'm going to get back to them about insurance and yeah, what it's called budget, but it's basically payroll services. I reminded them that if they don't want the town to do their payroll, they can do their own payroll. But we back charge their budget for the amount of payroll, which is it's so much per check. They have a lot of part-time people. And of course, there's a charge for the W-2s as well as a few other things. The recycle event, thanks to everybody who participated. I thought it went really well, very well received in the community. I think sometimes people go to these things in bigger communities and they find out there's a 2-mile line of cars, because we had people showing up. I think it started, what did we start at 10 and people were there at like 9.
Yeah, 9:15, they were lining up.
Veterans Day, luncheon and the ceremony at the Four Corners. Thank you to Post 664. I was, gave a short speech there. It was very, very nice, as it always is event. The Honeyett Falls Fire Department Parade is coming up. Traditionally, the town board has had a little table up front of town hall with hot chocolate and cookies. If anybody would like to participate, let me know. We have traditionally, the town board members have paid for this. It hasn't come out of the town's budget. And so feel free to let me know if you'd like to participate. The carpets here at Town Hall were cleaned on Veterans Day. Progressing with civil service, a few anomalies, that we're still working on, but we're getting there. It's just, the gentleman that we're working with is relatively new. And, as he's doing an audit going backwards, in years, he's seeing some anomalies of misrecordings of like someone who is strictly clerical, but they were listed as clerical and a person who was doing labor. So there was some incorrect, and that would have required further action from the town and civil service to make that position legal. Let's see, the fire department, to expand on what you said, I did touch base on this in the Sentinel Friday, which will come out in Thursday's paper. I did express some of my own opinions and representing the town of Mendon, which, as you all know, were the default fire commissioners for the fire protection district. And I really feel like it would benefit our residents if we had a townwide fire district. And certainly our ambulance possibly would fold into that. I'm not an expert in these things, but we're getting to the point where, there is a differential between the tax rate that the people in the Mendon Fire District are paying versus the people in the Mendon Fire Protection District and the people in the village on Honeyett Falls are paying. They're all getting pretty much the same service. So I think, for everyone's benefit, if everybody was paying the same rate per thousand, because quite frankly, Honeyett Falls already has some paid staff. This is the future. People aren't as apt to volunteer. Back in the day, there were tons of people volunteering for fire department, ambulance, things like that. But the training is a lot more stringent. The requirements, it's going in that direction sooner or later. It's just a question of when and how much. And I think most residents understand that and can accept the fact that that's going to be an additional cost to them. Because when you call 911, nobody goes, well, I don't want this ambulance to come, or I don't want this fire truck to come. You just want help. You don't care who shows up. And quite frankly, when the Chinese restaurant across the street started on fire during COVID, many people who were in the fire service told me that if that would have happened during normal times, not when COVID, when people weren't at work and people were at home, that we probably half that block would have been lost. But I mean, I stood out front of town hall here. There must have been a half a dozen fire companies that were here in no time flat. And they did a tremendous job of knocking that fire down, but I don't think you're going to get that under normal circumstances. So I encourage all of the parties to get together and make something work, because I don't want to wait till there's a trade show. And then everybody goes, wow, gee, we should have done this, or we should have done that. That's not helpful. So that concludes my communications. We'll move on to supervisor's monthly report.
I'll make a motion to acknowledge receipt of the supervisor's monthly report for September 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Town clerk's monthly report.
Make a motion to acknowledge receipt of the town clerk's monthly report for October 2024, showing receipts and disbursements in the amount of $50,696.74.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as amended at the regular meeting held on October 15th. 2024, there was one item in there where it said the holidays in the hamlet, it says December 14th, and that should be December 4th. So,
Okay.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor is amended? Aye. Thank you. Number 9 is budget adjustments. I provided a separate piece of paper to everyone regarding budget adjustments because Friday, I think it was Friday afternoon, we received a letter from the New York State Retirement System with our 2025 contribution. And quite frankly, there isn't enough money in the budget to cover it. So on that separate piece of paper, all but one of those, which is related to the DB fund at the bottom, are related to New York State Retirement. And there is a typo on the budget adjustments, the fourth one down, where it says to account, where it says safety supplies, that should be A5020.4, not 5120.4. So I apologize for that. I would also ask that after having a discussion with the secretary from the highway department, that we increase that amount to $1,000 from $500.
Can you repeat that?
Sure.
Budget number,
The
code number.
the fourth one down,
Mhm.
it says 2. Where it says A, it says 5120.4, that should be 5020.4.
Thank you.
And I would ask that we increase that to $1,000.
Instead of 500.
Correct. And then the additional ones on a separate piece of paper.
so moved.
Did anybody motion?
No, I just wanted to explain.
So moved.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, moved.
And I seconded.
Okay, got it.
So the New York State Retirement System, if we pay it by December 15th, we save just under $2,000. If we wait, if we wait until February 1st, like I say, it goes up $2,000. And you know, this isn't something that's debatable. That's, you get it from the state, that's the number's the number kind of thing. Luckily, we had some other places with Social Security, workers' comp, and medical insurance that we could transfer some money from.
I'm comfortable with the end of the year, it's time to start moving money around, right?
Yes. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Number 10 is vouchers.
I'll make a motion to approve all claims on the vouchers number 24-607 to 24-618 on general abstract 24-118 in the amount of $27,437.88.
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
I will make a motion to approve all claims on vouchers number 24-619 to 24-658 on general abstract 24-11B in the amount of $88,135.22.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
And the highway abstract, I'll make a motion to approve all claims on vouchers number 24-199 to 24-226 on general abstract 24-11 in the amount of $20,113.85.
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Um,
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
And then I'll just note that the library abstract A vouchers 24-179 to 24-185 on library abstract 24-11A in the amount of $1,142.98 was presented to us for payment, and same with vouchers 24-186 to 24-197 on library abstract 24-11B in the amount of $6,394.13.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the public hearing on the budget. I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:33. Please provide your name, address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Is there a motion to close this evening's public hearing? Before we close it, would someone like to make a motion to alter the preliminary budget? You want to alter?
Yeah.
Okay,
I do.
okay. You want me to say it?
Sure.
Okay, I mean, I just didn't know how familiar you were with it.
I'm familiar with it, but you can go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
I don't want to read the whole thing, do
No, you could just,
read the part where it changes.
yes, the change.
Increasing the Mendon Town Justice salary to $22,001 from $19,651.
Is there a second? Okay, so this is the result of the village court dissolving. And the justices suggested that their pay be commensurate to the work that is being done there. So I had suggested to the board that we make a change in their salary, which is going to necessitate a public hearing. And so I'd like, at this point, I'd like to schedule, well, let's vote on that first. Brent, you have something you want to say?
So we're gonna amend this. We're gonna.
Amend the
close
preliminary
this
budget.
Existing public hearing.
Yeah.
And schedule another public hearing.
Yes.
I support what we're talking about with the. Taking the village courts, it's gonna be accepted by the town, the way we're bringing it over and raised, it makes sense to me.
Makes it, I would agree that it makes sense, and I'm just. Man,
Yeah, why, absolutely.
I just wonder if, I know we talked at a couple of points, I think, about doing work sessions. I wonder if that would have helped prevent this, so that we could have had, was there input from the justices to begin?
So I will tell you that there was not, and
Okay.
I take the responsibility for that.
Okay.
However, I will tell you that the 14 years previous, I have sent them letters and I very rarely get a reply regarding the upcoming budget. So I usually end up working it with the court clerk on their budget. I think because of the village dissolving their court, it was a unusual circumstance, and so I take responsibility for not getting in touch with them sooner in the budget process.
Thank you.
So we've got a motion to change the preliminary and schedule a public hearing for December 9th. Is that correct? So we got a second, Michelle?
I thought,
Is this a new,
No,
so
I think we have a second.
are you amending and setting it and then closing the public hearing?
I I should close the public hearing.
Yes.
Close the
Yeah, I
public
think
hearing
we
and then,
Move to amend it first, right?
Which we did.
So should we vote on that?
yeah, let's vote on closing the public hearing for the amendment.
You have a first and a second on.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Okay, sorry about that. Got the doors.
Okay, so
Correct.
now we're setting a public hearing.
Yes. So is there a motion to set the public hearing for December 9th on the preliminary budget with the changes made this evening?
so moved.
A second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Uh,
Thank you. All right. Then let's move on to employee health insurance contribution to establish percentages. So I just put this on as discussion. I've had some relatively informal discussions with some of you about this. There was a little bit of a there appeared to be some agreement that we needed to look at this because of increased costs of healthcare. Anybody?
I think, I'm looking at our personnel policy. Policy, right, it is full-time employers hired before January 1st, 2010, contribute 13% for their medical. And they're fully covered for their dental. Full-time employees hired after January 1st, 2010. But before January 1st, 2015, contribute 18% of their monthly medical and 15% of their dental. Reading this correctly?
Yes.
Employees after February 1st, 2015 contribute 20% of their medical and 25% of their dental. Okay, and then we have full-time employees hired after January 1st, 2018 are eligible for a single policy. And they pay 20%, anything above that, they are responsible for. And for their dental, the town pays 25%. And anything above that, for any additional above the single, they are responsible for. Correct, that is what is existing.
Yes.
Now, I think we talked about this during this budget, and we adjusted the budget to include 50%. We say a spouse, but it's not really a spouse, it's a +1. It could be a +1. So I would say that the percentage for anybody hired after January 1st, 2018 is eligible for a single plus spouse +1, whatever is the correct way to say that nowadays. And they will contribute 20% of the premium for the single and 50% of the premium for the +1. Anything above that, they would be responsible for. I think we would use that same policy with the dental. So it would be, but it would be 25% of the premium, they would be responsible for the single, for themselves. And then 50% of the +1. And anything above that, they would be responsible for. And I think we also should talk about the full-time employees hired before January 1st, 2010 are paying 13% of their monthly premium. Should we increase that to 14%? Inching it forward. And should we we provide full dental for them? Should we require some dental contribution from them? would we look at 14% as that as well? As John said, the insurance costs are increasing.
I'm sorry, Brent, the full dental,
I'm looking at dental insurance. It says the town will fund this coverage in full for eligible employees hired before January 1st, 2010.
oh, right, I'm sorry, I do see that, thank you. And what was your recommendation on that?
Well, I'm wondering, should we look at 14% on that on the dental as well?
Gotcha.
I think that would be in line. It looks like we're kind of in line with the medical and dental. It's a sticky situation. I mean, that's what asking for the employees to pay more, but at the same time, it's just, we have no control over this expense.
The other thing that was brought to my attention by an employee was regarding the medical object. They said that as, you know, just recently we increased it a couple of years ago, I think it was. But the question was, would it be possible for us to increase that based on the percentage increase of health insurance annually? So let's say health insurance goes up 42% and the buyout is $4,200. Would we increase that by $420? That was just brought up to me by an employee and I just wanted to share it with the board.
Yeah, I mean, it's just my gut reaction is we need to take care of the people that we do provide a portion of insurance for before I mean, if the hope is that that's gonna cause an incentive, more of an incentive for people to say, well, I'll get my insurance from my wife or my husband or whatever. I'm not sure what that incentivizes.
Like I say, it was just brought to me. I wanted to share it with the board.
Okay.
So, anybody else have any opinions one way or another, changes?
Right, could you go back over, you said to possibly increase the 13 to 14% for medical
Yes,
for the people before January 1st, 2010,
yes.
okay? And then, what did you say again about that?
I'm wondering if we put that, right now it's full. The town pays all of it, that's all. So I'm wondering, do we ask for a percentage from the employees?
We don't know what that premium is off the top of our heads, correct?
If anybody knew, it would be Michelle.
So right now, I believe it's approximately like $35.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Because I know mine. and I
Yeah.
know I'm old,
Yeah,
so I'm on Medicare, but I know my dental's $39 a month.
yeah, it's not, no.
It's not a significant amount.
So are you saying we should not ask for a contribution for that, or?
I would say no.
Just my opinion. I think going from 0 to 14 is a big jump.
Mhm.
I'd be more inclined to go 5. I don't know. It's stepping stone, so to speak. Just my opinion. The rest of it, I don't have any issues with.
I'm fine with the 0 to 5%.
Any other discussion? Is there anybody? I'm sorry, Kim, did you want to say something?
I'm just gonna say with the rising health costs, I think we have to raise it, but doing small increments, I think is the way to go.
Yes. Yes. Would anybody like to make a motion?
So this is something that we would implement during our organization meeting, right?
Yes.
And this kind of
But-
gives our
but it-
employees an idea which way we're.
Yeah, and it also gives person who has to figure this out, 1-1, a chance to make all these computations. And notify the employees as well.
So moved.
The 14 and 5,
Great.
correct?
The 14 and 5, yes. And the +1 and 50% on +1 for anybody hired after 2018.
Okay. I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next is proposed accessory structure local law. This is to establish a public hearing.
Make a motion to establish the public hearing, for the proposed local law. To amend the town amendment zoning legislation to address zoning for accessory structures, building/structures. On December 9th, 2024 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter.
Second,
Discussion?
This is something that we've been looking at with the zoning code. It is, we say no accessory structures in front of the primary residence, but then we give an out of how to do it. And kind of my feeling of this is we're kind of usurping power from the ZBA. Because the ZBA has those 5 questions that they can ask of, is this, do you really need to do it? Is it, you can say it better than I can, is it self-created? Is there another way around it? That's where the planning board is not, they're not empowered. So I think it's really more of that to a area variance than it is for a site plan.
Applications for things?
I'd say 10 to 12 a year.
Yeah.
Yes, some meetings, that's the only
That's
thing
all
on
there
the
is.
agenda for like 3 or 4 meetings in a row. In my opinion, it's because that's where your driveway is. And it's easier to put your accessory structure next to your driveway.
If I could, the accessory structures are used for a variety of reasons. There are people with antique cars, there's people with indoor shooting ranges, there's all kinds of things. And one of the things that we do not want them to be used for is to run a commercial business out of their house. To me, I've received a lot of complaints about, and some of these accessory structures that people want to put up are as big as their house. So, I mean, I don't know how many lawnmowers you have there, but it's, I seriously think that, it's staying with the comprehensive plan, the idea that the board has, the vision for the board has for the town of Mendon. I think the accessory structures, large accessory structures in front of the building are not consistent. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That will necessitate another, obviously, notice of favor. Number 14 is the ambulance contract. This is for adoption.
I'll make a motion to enter into an agreement with the Village of Pontiac Falls for ambulance service for 2025 in the amount not to exceed $197,182 from account number B4540.400 in the 2025 budget.
second,
Any discussion? Again, this went up significantly. From what I understand, there are volunteers at the ambulance, but it's predominantly paid staff. And it's a business. It really is. And we definitely need to have ambulance service for our residents. However, I do think that as I mentioned with the fire service, we need to come as a community, as a town wide, including the village. We need to come to some kind of we're coming to a fork in the road, and we need to have a plan going forward. And we spent a lot of time with a committee on fire service, didn't address ambulance directly. I don't know, a year and a half ago, and it's not going to get cheaper. Let's put it that. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm gonna pass down the contract for your signatures. Next on the agenda is the holiday schedule.
Let's make a motion to, adopt the following holiday schedule before I have questions.
Second that.
Discussion.
I'm just noticing the highway department holidays is a pretty big leap from the way it's been established from what I understand the past 18 years. Earlier today. Earlier today. Oh, there you go. You got that. The highway superintendent sent out this. And sent it down to you. Sure. With what has been standard practice. And again, based on my conversations, you know, a lot of it has to do with, and I gladly lend the floor to you, Andy, skewing some of the holidays more towards the summer than the winter, just because we have ice removal or snow removal demands and whatever. Anything like to add to that, or?
First of all, it's not my schedule. I was superintendent and it's up to me to put the schedule on there for the board to. That's not mine, it's on there.
Yeah, but this is the way it's been.
What?
The way that the way
It's always been since for 18 years.
18 years.
But
Okay.
there's nothing in highway law or town law.
Oh, absolutely not. But I'm just, I mean, I guess I'm curious where the input came from for the. I've been probably overstating a radical departure from where we've been.
In the past, the highway superintendent has set the schedule for the highway workers, correct?
So, are we open for discussion? on
Yeah.
that?
Yes.
So I have a question for Andy, maybe you can help me understand. In your email that you sent for June 19th, it says if workload permits a day off, if not, you get a floater. If you can't take June 19th off, but yet a week or two later, you can take the whole week of July. And that's your summer is your busiest time for construction.
This we all,
How can you take a whole week off?
because everyone scheduled for it. It's been that way for 18 years. We schedule not for that. In the previously before June 19th, we were always scheduled that week to oil and snow. That's scheduled. Now if rain happens or we get pushed back, then we can certainly take it off that day.
So just because it's happened for 18 years, does it mean that it has to continue that way?
Just the big thing is that taking those days off in the winter, everyone will be off, so watching the roads,
Who watches the roads on a Saturday or Sunday in the winter?
dispatchers. The holidays are not a Saturday or Sunday, so the dispatchers that we have now, town employees. That we adjust their schedules, we talked about that numerous times. So their schedules are adjusted, so that person's holiday is now Martin Luther King Day, he's got that day off. Person that works from 3 to 11 at night on Martin Luther King Day, let's say, he's now got that day off, he's watching the roads. That's why we have a dispatch schedule, and that's one of the main reasons why it got switched that way. Now you don't have people watching the roads per se. And when the highway department is working, those are the holidays that I do take. Those 3 holidays I do take off because they're always been there. So someone's always watching the roads. Christmas, Thanksgiving, those days, the guys are off. I'm working watching the roads.
So the week in July, when it's 4th of July week, there's no one working that whole week?
Pretty much no one in Monroe County works on that week, or a handful of, I wouldn't say more than a handful of towns are off that week. They're all doing the same thing to cover your winter operations. Winters, you can schedule around the week of 4th of July. Plus, you've got 2 days off of 4th of July. You got the 4th and the floater, and then half your guys will make that into a week off anyway. So you're short people anyways. It's to do the work anyway, so make sure the roads are covered. If you don't have, if you got 3 guys, 4 guys that wanna take vacation, make that a full week, which a lot of guys like to do. Now you're down to, now you're short staffed, you can't do road work anyway.
Thank you.
I mean, I guess one of the reasons I put it up is. Our highway department, these guys that have worked, a lot of us who have worked for a lot of years, so they've worked for other highway departments, this has been fairly standard procedure. I just feel like. I mean, we may have to raise their premiums on their healthcare accounts a percentage or two just to keep up with the times. This looks to be like something that doesn't cost a nickel, but we're gonna cause a lot of people a lot of angst. So that's my point. So why the departure?
And I'm wondering. This schedule affects the workers. Does it affect you? As the highway superintendent?
Well, I've already got plans, so whoever, if it gets adopted this way, whoever wrote that schedule, I guess would be responsible for making the calls on the road and all this. Cause it's not, that's why we write that schedule so that it can be covered all the time. So
Okay.
whoever wrote it, I don't know who wrote it, should be responsible for covering roads.
I guess I have a question. The last few springs, summers, falls, we've had storms, massive storms that have knocked down trees. And the highway department has gone out and helped clean up the roads and clear the roads. If we get a massive storm on this 4th of July week, when everybody is off, how do we clear the roads?
Me, because I work, because those guys are off. So that's the week that I work, because that's how it's scheduled, I know what it is. And if there's some guys around, I can get another guy or two to help.
That's how many guys have been out to help clear the roads on some of these massive storms that we've had in the past. Been more than 1 or 2, hasn't it?
No, it's usually me and someone else.
Okay.
So. I mean, well, last time was I would propose that we submit the holiday schedule that has been the holiday schedule. To be this year's holiday schedule for the highway department. And again, what's proposed is very similar to town halls. We have 2 very distinct workforces in this town that have different seasonal needs and all that kind of stuff. And I think, our holiday schedule should reflect that.
I guess the one thing that I'm stuck on, Tom, is the proposed schedule this year was Juneteenth if the workload permits. The guys worked on Juneteenth and then had Friday off.
That's this year?
That was in 2024.
Yep.
Okay. So Juneteenth fell on a what this year?
On a Wednesday.
Okay. Okay, sorry, workload permits. Yeah. So what would you propose?
I'm confused how the workload did not permit to have Juneteenth off, but they could have 2 days later, they could take off.
Yeah.
Because workload permitted that.
I mean, it's, force, doing it on Juneteenth. I mean,
Are you asking me? Because the vendor was in town. He was with us that day. He was with us from Monday through Thursday. We finished closest day off to Juneteenth possible. If I would have sent the vendor off on Wednesday, that Wednesday said we can't work Wednesday, it's Juneteenth, he would have gone to the many other towns that are working that Wednesday, and then he would have been on, and we would have had to reschedule him, hopefully get him back in time before the weather changes.
Which vendor? Is that the soup cook guy?
These weeks are pretty much have been planned for the 19 towns. It's kind of where they've been doing it forever. So every town knows when their oil and stone times are.
Well, I mean, last week we compromised on a couple of things I wanted, and I mean, what, I would defer to you, how do you want to treat Juneteenth?
How do I want to treat it? I'd rather not have discussions about it. But at the same time, I think it's a bad look when we say we can't take that Wednesday off, but then we can take off. Make it to the appearance of being a 3-day weekend.
Okay.
I mean, that's the appearance, whether it's
Yeah, I
actual
mean-
or not, I mean, we can
Yeah,
argue
like I
about all
said.
the time.
Yeah,
It's the appearance, the
So-
public appearance.
so then I think you can take that out and say Juneteenth. And we have a vendor in town, we deal with it. Right? So, I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
Well, but if you say we're gonna work on Juneteenth. Or leave that in as a day off, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I
But
mean,
then the vendors in town, what do you do?
yeah,
Potentially, we won't get the roads done until,
yeah.
depending on whether they might not get them.
So you. But I mean, like I said, in the spirit of, if that's an issue, then I don't have a problem.
So if I could jump in for a second, number one, if the number of roads that are gonna be stoned in oil is gonna vary from year to year. Depending on how long the road is, what roads are gonna be stoned in oil, I'm pretty sure it could last a few days or into a couple of weeks, and there's lots of other weeks between Memorial Day and Labor Day that I consider summer anyway, that I would think that could be chosen by between the vendor and the town. The other thing I would say is that I quickly looked and I couldn't find the exact wording, but there is something in the personnel policy about being called out on a holiday. And if, in my opinion, if it is a holiday and someone is called into dispatch, then that person would be eligible for whatever it says in the personnel policy for working the holiday. And unfortunately, short notice. So I would suggest to the board that we maybe table this, give it some thought, do a little more research into the personnel policy.
Can I just add one thing from ADP?
Mhm.
They don't like. We might take that day. So like if I tell them June 19th, they're gonna use it as a holiday unless they have to work, and then another one, they didn't like that. So if June 19th isn't taken, I need a set date that it'll change to. Either way, I don't care what it is, but they just need it because they really didn't like that last year.
Loaded, must have raised.
It did. Yeah, that's why they want them all set ahead of time.
Okay,
I don't care what it is, but yeah.
why don't we table it?
I'm fine with this to let it percolate for a little bit.
Okay.
We've got another meeting coming up. December 9th, correct?
Okay.
Fine, okay. We need a motion to table.
Yes. That's second.
All in favor of tabling?
One before we do, I'm sorry, just Brian, if you could do a little bit of research before that time to make sure that there's nothing that refrains us from not having our employees take off our federal holidays.
Sure, I can do that.
just
I
wanna
don't,
make sure.
I don't believe this is, but I'll take a look at that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, John. All in favor of tabling? Aye. All opposed. Thank you. All right, then move on to town board meeting schedule.
I'll make a motion to adopt the schedule as delineated in our agenda. Number 16.
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next is special town board meeting, December 30th, 2024.
Make a motion to hold a special town board meeting at 7 o'clock Monday, December 30th, 2024, for the purpose of paying end of the year bills and any other business that may come before the board.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Is there anything that's keeping us from doing that earlier? If anybody is agreeable to that? Or does it have to be at 7?
Are you talking about at all meetings?
I mean, no, I'm just saying that meeting at 7 o'clock at that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know I am agreeable to do it whenever anybody else wants to do
I
it.
mean, if I remember, it's a pretty quick meeting usually.
Yeah, I'd say maybe 10 minutes.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's scheduled to be a work day. I don't know what everybody else's schedule was.
It's a Monday.
Yeah.
I'm working, but I can make it work.
Yeah,
I'm good with whatever.
I might have a conflict with a flight, but I'll deal with that.
Coming in or leaving?
Oh, if it, yeah, coming in, so in other words,
Okay.
coming in, yeah, I have to check the flight for that book, but I think I'll come in after, so.
Okay, I was just thinking,
No,
if it was
but
a quick
you can do it.
meeting,
I mean, yeah.
if it
Yeah.
sounds like it may be an issue, so, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Never
no,
mind.
if it's earlier, that's fine with me.
We have had those during the meeting earlier in the day
Yeah.
on occasion because,
I can remember one at noon, I can remember one at.
yeah, we had one during the regular workday, I think, one day. It's up to the board.
You know what time your flight goes in.
Off the top of my head and without pulling out my phone, probably not. So, I mean, but the three of you gotta be here, right? So, I mean, you know, I'll do the best I can. I might be able to move a flight.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I'm not sure yet, so.
I hate to see it
But
get an increased cost on your flight for that.
but I think if 7 o'clock works for everybody. then-
No, go ahead and move it earlier, it's fine.
Time to go and move.
I could do anything after 3 o'clock.
I was thinking, you know, if you're looking at 4 o'clock, the town board or the town hall closes. And then if we could just come up here, do our bills and maybe get out of here before the sun goes down too far.
Okay. It'll be down by then.
It'll be down by then, yeah, but
Well, they should be on around 23. So 4 o'clock,
Set the motion.
so that's a revised motion.
Yes,
And is there a second for 4 o'clock?
looking at.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, 4 o'clock. Municipal snow and ice agreement extension.
I could make a motion to enter agreement with the state of New York to extend municipal snow and ice agreement until June 30th, 2029, as per conditions in the agreement.
second,
Any discussion?
I do have a question on this. I think the highway superintendent left. This is showing in this contract, town of Mendon is maintaining Route 64 all the way to the Village of Pittsburgh line. That just, it doesn't seem correct to me.
No, those are-
I don't think it does. The deputy's
Oh.
here.
Does the town of Mendon, the highway superintendent, take care of Route 64 in the town of Pittsburgh?
We take care of 64, but we only go to the town line.
To the town.
That's been a thing for years, that's even been included in the map. They show it going all the way to Pittsburgh. And we've always tried to get the state to correct it, they never do. But we only cover, I'm not speaking for myself, but we only cover to the Mendon Pittsburgh town line, which is we'll cross the throughway.
Canfield.
Yeah, Canfield, it's right by Mendon.
You make the left,
Yeah.
make them down.
Okay, so this is just an error. Okay.
They'll have that new development in there, that's south of there, isn't it?
yes.
It's in Mendon, but it's north of the thruway, but it's
Yeah.
just south of
It
Canfield.
still sits within
Yeah.
the term.
Well, actually, this is actually
It's on
showing
the state,
is
it's
there
just never
15A in the
correct.
rock too, so.
So if it's agreeable to the board, I would suggest that that board authorize me to write this is the state, right?
This is-
Yeah, write the state with a letter requesting a correction.
Or just
Along-
clarify that we're.
Along with, sign the agreement, but say, hey, guys, guess what? Your municipal boundaries are off a little bit.
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure I understood it correctly.
On favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Town Hall plumbing contract.
I'll make a motion to enter into an agreement with Gotti Plumbing for plumbing work at the town hall according to the proposal dated November 7th, not to exceed $3,875. To be paid from, I don't know which account, because it's not listed.
Somebody should have filled in that account number. I know it was me too. Let's take a peek at here and see what we got. Actually. This, I guess. The town hall. A 1620.402, which is building town hall maintenance. Which I believe would be this. Correct. There's also an improvements line. I'll take it as an improvement.
I do.
Yes. Well, it is an improvement, yes, but I mean, we do,
Maintenance.
I think it's more maintenance related. Yes. Thank you.
I will second that.
Okay. For discussion.
I think it's a good idea and I think we should take care of it. It's beyond time. My understanding is it's cast iron down there. We've been putting PVC, so it will move better out to the street.
Yeah, so as you recall, I think it was about 18 months ago, we had a blockage down there. Then we had another blockage, I don't know, what was that, a month ago?
Mhm.
And we had to call for emergency, thank you very much. Emergency, and it's been, I forgot the bill, it seemed to me it was around $1,200 each time, just to have them clear it. So this would take out all the cast iron, as Brent said, replace it all with PVC. Hopefully, they're telling me that there's like a, for lack of a better term, corrosion on the inside of the pipe, and then eventually,
Percolation.
yeah. Just trying to think of a good way to say it. Anyway, hopefully this cures our problem. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next is mobile AED purchase discussion. So I'll start out the discussion by saying I did get some information about AEDs from the Secretary of the Highway Department. And the request was down in here someplace. Anyway, was from, here it is. It was, a little over $2,600 for two AED machines, one mobile, one for this highway superintendent's truck, and the other for plow trucks. I don't know which plow truck, but probably one of them. And the reason I put it on for discussion is that, and unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to quiz you, Brian, so I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot. This is something we can discuss at a later date. But one is the cost, and we don't have it in the 24 budget. We can consider it the 25 budget. But I have questions like, who's authorized to use these things? Do we need to train the employees? If the employees came upon an emergency situation, they used an AED on the public, is the town gonna be liable? I don't know the answer to any of these things, but they do concern me. And so I would suggest that we continue to, because we don't have the money this year anyway, let's continue to do a little research on this and see.
Can I ask what was the reasoning for this? Like, why are they asking to have them?
I don't know. It was just a request.
Do we have any AEDs in the town?
And every bill.
How about on any of the fields that are used?
Not that are town owned. Not that are town owned. Correct.
I know that they're pretty easy to use. We do a lot of training in my position where my daytime job. And they make them pretty much that anyone could use.
Sure.
Yeah, they talk you through it, but we have lots of them, and actually, I'm just ordering 4 new ones. So hopefully they did some checking on different companies that they're purchasing from. So
And I'm sorry, what was the cost again for one mobile unit?
The price I have, I believe, is for two. Which is 20. No, I'm sorry, and this,
it's 600 for-
well, it says 2,600, but yet this one says. Two at 1648 for 1396. Then there's a discount. So yeah, 26 is. Kevin Smith, who we have used in the past, provided this quote. I only have one quote. That was provided to me, but Kevin has maintained our current equipment. And we generally buy replacement parts through him as necessary. Yeah, I kind of think maybe we need to.
And if I'm not mistaken, we need 3 quotes at this price for a procurement policy. I'll have to check.
Yeah, I'm not absolutely sure. 2,600.
I'm pretty sure. I would like to discuss it more, especially with the training. But to have a mobile unit that. Well, it might save somebody's life.
Exactly.
I mean, putting in snow fence. It might save somebody's life. So I mean, to look at it, 2,600, we can't weigh that against somebody's
But I
life.
can
So
tell you in the trainings that I do, especially with the school. You can have them available if people don't know how to use them. And there was a student athlete, not here, and we use this training video with our staff. There was an AED not even 20 feet away, and this 16-year-old kid died on the field because there wasn't proper training. They didn't have a emergency action plan and give directions on go to get that. So a good thing that Brian is here to answer some of these liability questions.
Yeah, and I can take a look as far as any training requirements that there may be, and does that change at all with these mobile AEDs? Is there any difference there? And one thing I'll mention, because I know this does come up, when you do have these machines, is there something in place where they will be inspected every so often as far as, okay, so that's
But
one time.
not that. You have somebody on staff that does the yearly inspection.
Kevin Junkie goes around and he checks them all and makes
Okay,
sure
perfect.
that, because we just received new, what do you call that stuff?
Oh,
Narcan.
not-
Narcan. Yes. For our various locations as well.
I just mentioned that because I knew that is a requirement that you do make sure you do it, but it sounds like we are, so that's good. I can look into any training or liability questions.
I just, I'm all for saving somebody's life and because it might be mine. But if one of our employees all of a sudden hooked up this to they come up on a car accident, let's say the ambulance is en route and they think the guy's having a heart attack, but the person and use it. I mean, I just want to make sure that town is properly covered.
Or like
I
a
think
good
that's what
bystander
training
law or
comes in.
something.
Yeah.
I think there's
Isn't there
like,
some good Samaritan?
yeah,
Good
yeah,
Samaritan.
I think so
The thing
too.
about AEDs that they're foolproof. If
Yeah.
you don't need the shock, they won't shock you.
yes.
Sure. No.
Yeah.
I know when I was involved with the baseball program, we got it for the baseball field. And it was, it was, thank goodness, never used, but it's nice to have it there.
Right.
Okay, so we'll move on. Number 21, IT policies.
Make a motion to adopt the IT policy as listed in our agenda.
And I'll second that.
So the Association of Towns had a webinar on IT policies. I thought the best use of everyone's time was to have Danny participate, and he did. And they gave sample policies at the end. And Danny and I had a chance to sit down and go over those policies because quite frankly, I'm not qualified to for these policies. It's a different language for me. And so anyway, we sat down, we went over the details, we came up with this. I think it's good. Some of it is required by the state, so we've been laxed in what do they call it? Remember what they called it?
Oh, sorry.
Breach notification.
That's it. Thanks,
Oh.
Danny. Breach notification policy that is required by the state. So I think this is good, but it is going to be a little bit of a chore to get this to employees, get it signed, get it back, et cetera. But
It's quite verbose.
I'm sorry, Darren?
It's verbose.
It is.
And it's very,
And-
I had some question on some of this.
No, go ahead. You were talking,
I had some questions, some of them probably for Danny, some of them for the town board, would be myself, the one, the language looks boilerplate, but it talks about enforcement, up to and including termination of employment. And that's under the password policy. That just seems a little bit, thank you, for not following the password policy, which in here needs to be updated every 90 days and can't be one of your past passwords. I mean, I'm sorry, I can only remember so many passwords.
Well, we're currently, Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't we currently, everybody's changing their password every, because I know on mine, it comes up like you got 3 days to change your password or it locks you out.
Yeah.
Is that every 90 days currently?
I need to double check. I believe it's 90 days, but the server doesn't force it to the basket.
Sure.
And then there is a lot of mention of municipal IT staff. So I mean, basically, I'm assuming we're talking about the supervisor and our consultant. Because we don't have an IT staff.
Correct.
Let's see, what else did I have? Oh, email attachments. We have listed in here that we're not allowed to use .coms as an attachment because that's a window command file. That eliminates about every link that I send to people.
If you're sending a link to a website, it doesn't get sent to the .com file. It gets sent to either a plain text or a .url.
Okay. So when it says .com, it's not really a .com.
Right.
Thank you, Ned.
So you would like to remove the email portion, the penalty, correct?
It just seems like up to termination for not updating your password, it just seems.
well, you almost have to update it because I know at school we have to update ours. It won't let you go on until you
Trust me,
change
we're all used to this at school, aren't we?
it. You have to change it.
I guess I see including termination of employment, but it says up to. So I guess that would be the final step, is when somebody is just blatantly ignoring this policy.
Right.
Well, I don't think they could, Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they could even sign on,
We can't.
right? Because at
At
least with me, it locks me out. It
It
says,
does.
you're gonna change your password today, or you're not going any further.
Yeah.
And if someone's not beyond that, they have to get me to come into the server and reset it manually. So
Yeah.
to some extent, it's self-enforcing.
Right.
Okay.
So do you want to say, just take out that first sentence on enforcement? It's top of page
Yeah.
Page 2.
9.
Page 9, it's well, it says, even if we say disciplinary action consistent with our personnel policy.
Okay.
Because we talked about termination in the personnel policy. Yeah, right there. And then I'm assuming that this would be added into our personnel policy.
Yes.
I'm fine with that.
We're taking out the enforcement.
Violations of this password policy may result in disciplinary action. As outlined in our personnel policy. So we get rid of that last part of the sentence, first spot, termination of employment.
But this would be for anybody who's using a computer at the town. I mean, if it's somebody who has a position where they're not using a computer, which I guess there might be a few at the highway. I
Yeah,
don't think they'd have to sign it, but if they're gonna use the computer, everybody's gonna have to.
When I go to the town, my town email and whatever, I'm at home. Doesn't ask, I use,
No, that's.
I use the one that I was given 11 years ago.
Yeah, that's different. It's-
Yes,
email and
this are two different
Yeah, I figured, okay, I'm not using the towns.
Yeah, I think the server is the key. Am I right, Danny?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure about that.
You're not doing the multi,
You will for email, but not for this, because for this, you have to be in the building already.
I have to do multi. Office, whatever.
Yeah, I'm seeing that more and more.
Yeah,
I mean, for all the banks.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
everything, yeah, yep.
In order just to get on with M&T Bank, I have to receive a ping on my phone and it has to either recognize my voice or my face, or I have to put in a passcode. Okay,
Just part of the norm.
Yeah. Anything else with number 21? Okay, is there a motion to approve as amended? Yeah. I'll move to approve it.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Credit card policy update.
So moved.
So this came about when the Secretary of the Highway Department asked me about credit cards, and I got out our policy, and saw that it referred to the finance director over and over and over and over and over again. And I said, well, we need to change this. And believe me, I'd like to lock myself in the office for about a week and go through all our policies and procedures, because there's more than one that needs to be updated. Anyway, this is essentially what we had, basically wherever it said, finance director, we put in, town supervisor or town clerk or both. It is basically the same policy. Just be aware that we have a credit card policy, and then we have a charge card, which is different. Like if we have a Lowe's card, for instance, that's different than a credit card. A credit card is, excuse me, like a Visa MasterCard thing. And I might add that to my displeasure, when we opened up I don't know if it's a Visa or MasterCard, I had to put, it has my name on it, which, and my social security attached to it, which I was not crazy about, but they wouldn't let us open it without me having that. And I'm like, thank goodness we're paying it on time, right, Michelle? It's not affecting my credit rating. So anyway, this just outlines it in a little more detail and updates it. As I said, I think it's important that we keep track of that. I do think it would be nice that one of my goals in the future is to get a list of every charge card and charge account within the town of Benton. Seems to me we should have a rolling list of that. It's currently, I've had people come to me, do we have an account at such and such? No, we've got a lot of accounts, and there should be a record of them all. We got a motion in a second. I just run on my.
Yep.
Oh. Any other discussions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next is dog boarding contract number 23.
I make a motion to approve the contract with Adnan, boarding kennels dated November 11th, 2024 to provide lease space in 2025 for impounding purchase under dog control law of the town of Benton.
I'll second that.
Discussion.
Makes sense to me. Good to see somebody local too. Yep.
So, I just want to bring this up, is that the town of Henrietta is considering building, they're applying for a grant to build a dog impound facility. And, they've asked us if we would use it. And I said, well, we wouldn't be opposed to using it, but we generally impound 1 to 3 dogs a year. They probably impound 1 to 3 dogs a week. But I said, we wouldn't want to be like an equal partner with Henrietta and Rush and somebody else, So I just said, the door is open for us to possibly participate. because we were with Hollywood Kennel there, or Hollywood. Hollywood Kennel, and then they found out they had been inspected by the state and they declined to services anymore. So I guess my long-term situation is if this thing worked out for Henrietta, that might be the best for everyone. But I know in dealing with Joel and in dealing with Michelle, our overall concern is getting the animal, the dog, because we only have dog control, we don't have animal control, back to the owner. You know, the penalty phase of that is not our major concern. We'd like to see the dog's licensed, chipped, and because we have a chip reader, and then we can get the dogs back to the owner as quickly as possible. Because it's easier for everybody. Because once they go to a facility, it's quite a process. You gotta prove that they're licensed, that they have all their shots, all that kind of jazz before you can get them out of the facility. So we try to expedite that. So, but in the meantime, Ednan's great. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next is ARPA funding for Monroe County seniors and youth. Oh, did I miss one? Hamlet sidewalk. Thank you. RFP for construction services.
I'll make a motion to authorize the supervisor to prepare and receive the request for proposal for construction services related to the Hamlet sidewalk project.
One second.
Tom, could you give us a brief explanation of what construction services are?
Construction services are just kind of overseeing and helping out with the contractor. We've done reviewing pay applications, checking in on construction progress, those types of basic things. It's not full-time inspection, it's not out there watching them, you know, put in every drop of stone, but just kind of a general cursory overview.
So it's nobody with a shovel.
Nobody with a shovel.
And this would just be to get somebody lined up, should we be able to proceed in the spring. Doesn't lock us into anything.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I think I really wanted to, it can take some time to get somebody lined up. Talking with MRB, they said, this is not your wheelhouse, this was a construction observation. So in my mind, what we would be looking at would be somebody for construction observation. And MRB would handle the construction administration on this. And we don't know, we don't think there's gonna be any strings attached with the grant dollars that are coming from the county. But if other grant dollars come about, sometimes there's MWBE requirements, or sometimes there's other requirements. So if we can get these proposals out there, which, I mean, if we get them out there tomorrow, we'd probably be looking at interviewing people in January at earliest. So it could take some time to get something lined up.
It all really depends on what the scope of the grant dictates. We're doing New York City DOT transportation project for sidewalks in East Rochester. We have a full-time inspector who goes out there and watches every ounce of it. So he watches the construction, keeps track of the quantities. I don't know that you need all of that, because we are licensed engineers and the gentleman who's doing is a licensed engineer, we can do that. They do have other certifications that are DOT approved certifications, allow for different opportunities to apply with the grant.
And following up with the previous public comment, this is not moving forward with the implementation of the sidewalks. We would still have public input. This is simply trying to get our ducks in a row for.
Yeah, I still owe you guys, I still owe you a proposal too, finishing, looking through the design, and had some coordination efforts with the DOT. But one of the questions was on right of way boundary, getting that defined versus using kind of some of the acting surgeon.
Thank you. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, 25 ARPA funds for Monroe County for seniors and youth focus. This is approval to receive.
So moved. Second.
As noted in the agenda, this is for $99,559.40. That through December 31st, 2026. We have to have all the insurance paperwork, which I already put together, as well as a board resolution. Excuse me, to proceed. Obviously, I've got a few ideas. I'm sure you all have some ideas. I need to turn down money that's doesn't appear to have a lot of strings attached to it, as we've seen in the past with ARPA funding. And certainly we've got a seniors program that has been revitalized, I will say, by leadership. And we certainly have a summer rec program that is scheduling more. We talked about this, I forgot, in a meeting or two ago, more and more kids every year. So I did talk to them about if this funding could be used for something that's already in place. And the county said, yes, we could. Any other discussion?
I think it's something we need to do.
I agree.
We shouldn't turn it away.
No.
And we've got 2 years to figure out how to use it.
These don't come around very often. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Highway equipment reserves.
Let's make a motion to transfer $444,928 from equipment reserves DB to account DB 5110.200. This resolution is subject to a permissive referendum.
Second.
Any discussion? This is all highway equipment that's been in the budget all along. And, as we can't just move a lump sum of money out of reserves. We have to make sure it's right to the penny. That's why you see that right down to the dollar in this situation. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Planning board appointment.
Make a motion to appoint Daniel Lipscott to the planning board, term to expire December 31st, 2027.
I'll second that.
This is an unexpired term due to a resignation. And there were 2 people who expressed interest. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Number 28, agreement with Arthur Morrell.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Pertinent to a previous agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. So now we're at 29, which is the summer rec agreement.
Make a motion to enter into an agreement with summer rec program.
I'm going to recuse myself.
I'll second.
Any discussion? This is pretty much the same contract that we've had with the school in the past. It's very well run program. We have seen increased participation. And but every year I go down to school and all the municipalities to come, and we are given a very nice presentation, and everybody is been in agreement. Do you know where it's going to be next year?
So, yes, we made that decision this week because there is a lot of capital projects and every building is gonna be under construction. It is gonna stay at Manor School, but the Manor School gym will not be available. So we may tap into the Mendon Youth Center a little bit. That is an addendum in the agreement for the town of Mendon, but yes, it will be at Manor.
Sure. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And one
That one.
Not voted.
Got it.
Uh. New,
Public
comment.
comment first.
yeah, public comment first. Anybody?
Oh,
Gary?
Just a couple of things. I'm sorry to have it. But, you tabled number 12, I believe. It's easy to throw around the percentages, 1%, 4% like this. But it would be nice if you could give a perspective of maybe take an employee or a representative employee and say, okay, we're gonna increase your salary 3%, but we're gonna take out more healthcare, we're gonna take out more, just to see how it affects an employee. Maybe take a clerk, take a highway worker, take a, different ones, and see how it affects the person individually, as opposed to saying, well, I think 1%, or I think 14%, or 100%, they should pay the whole thing, like it, kind of like Social Security in play. We're gonna raise your Social Security, but we're gonna up your Medicare too. So, the other thing, when in the fire and ambulance, contracts that we sign. And we pay through our taxes for it. I pay the co-pays if I use the ambulance or whatever. And then you get requests for donations in the mail. And I don't know where those donations go. If they go to the individual person, or I'm sorry, not person, but to firefighters, or does it, in this case, go to the village of Honey Lake Falls, and they can use it like in the past for anything you want, basically. But, like that, and it seems like I'm paying for it. Why are you asking me for donations? I don't know. And then the last comment would be when you're talking about the boilerplate items, the policy for computers and like this. You just have to be careful when you start using boilerplate in that, like Brent was saying, I mean, it says for the director of IT, or it asks for these things, and you don't read through them and change them to how they affect the town as such. You just have to be careful when you write them, because they get a little obtruse when you start using them. They really don't affect the town. And then you go to enforce it, and then you can't enforce it, or you don't bother. Well, we've got an IT policy, but we really don't look at it. Yeah. So I'd just be careful about it. You need to rewrite it, maybe based on the boiler, like that. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, is there a motion to go into executive session for litigation?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So at this point, thanks everybody for coming. If you'd like to wait outside, we'll go back into executive session. There could be something passed, or we could go right to adjournment.